All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to look at some of the world's most sacred stories through a completely different lens. What if they aren't about ancient history at all? What if they're actually a kind of user's manual for a powerful process happening inside your own body right now?
I mean, really think about that. This is the central question posed by the source material we're exploring today. What if these ancient texts, the ones we think we know so well, aren't about external people and places at all, but are actually a detailed guide to our own physiology and our own spiritual potential? So here's the core claim, and it's a big one. The idea is that the story of Christ, his birth, life, death, and resurrection, and yeah, even the legend of Santa Claus, are actually allegories for a biological cycle, a sacred event that repeats over and over inside every single one of us. Okay, so where does this all start? Well, the entire process is said to begin in the brain, with what the source calls a sacred secretion. This is the origin story of the internal Christ. This theory points to a very specific part of the brain called the claustrum, dubbing it the holy claustrum. It's said to secrete a special fluid, an oil that the ancient Greeks actually called Christos, which means anointed. And get this, the source even argues that our word secret comes directly from this secretion, basically hiding the greatest secret of all in plain sight. And this is how that whole allegory supposedly maps directly onto our anatomy. The Holy Land isn't in the Middle East, it's the human body. Heaven is the cranium, our skull. The sacred oil travels down the Jordan River, which is our spinal cord. It's prepared by Joseph and Mary, representing the pituitary and pineal glands in the brain, before it's finally born in Bethlehem, which this theory identifies as the solar plexus. The allegory even extends to, you guessed it, Santa Claus. The source claims the name itself, Santa Claus, comes from the claustrum. So this Santa sends his precious gift, that sacred oil, down the chimney of the spinal cord every year, or in this case, every month. It totally recasts a familiar story as a physiological metaphor. So the oil has made its journey down. Now we're at a really critical point in the cycle. This is a monthly event that presents a fundamental choice.
So according to this theory, this is where astrology comes into play. Once a month, specifically when the moon is in the same zodiac sign you were born under, a special seed is said to be generated from this oil. And this symbolic birth, this virgin birth, happens down in the solar plexus, our anatomical Bethlehem. This is the arrival of the internal Christ seed. And this is where that choice comes in. The source lays out two very different paths. You've got the lower path, described as riotous living. Things like alcohol, overeating, wasting your energy and base desires. All of this is said to destroy the seed. But then there's the higher path. This involves preserving the seed through discipline, meditation, peaceful behavior, basically preparing it for its journey back up. Now, if that seed is preserved, it begins its heroic journey back up the spinal cord. This is a path the source compares to the biblical Jacob's ladder, a direct ascent to heaven, or, in this case, back to the cranium. The number 33 is hugely significant here. Why? Because the oil must ascend the 33 vertebrae of the human spine to get back to the brain. This, the source claims, is the real reason the Christ figure is said to be crucified at age 33. The journey's length is literally encoded in the story. Okay, now here is a really radical reinterpretation. Crucifixion in this context has nothing to do with death on a cross. It's all about amplification. It represents the moment the oil crosses the vagus nerve at the top of the spine. The source claims the root of the word crucifixion actually means to multiply 1,000-fold. It's not an ending, it's a massive power-up. So after this incredible amplification, the supercharged oil reaches the optic thalamus, a part of the brain that relays sensory information. The source calls this the light of the world. Here, the oil lies dormant, or dead, for about 2.5 days. Sound familiar? It's mirroring Christ in the tomb. And then it's said to burst forth, illuminating both the optic thalamus and the pineal gland, awakening millions of dormant brain cells and unlocking a higher state of consciousness.
So what's the ultimate point of all this? What's the end game? Well, the source presents two very, very different destinies, and it all depends on the path you choose for this sacred seed. The stakes are presented as incredibly high. I mean, life and death. If you consistently deplete the oil through that lower path of riotous living, it's said to lead to the eventual death of the physical body. But if you successfully preserve and raise the oil,
It leads to what the source calls total physiological and spiritual regeneration.
And the rewards for this regeneration, they're said to be absolutely profound. We're talking about the creation of new, purified blood, the awakening of latent spiritual abilities like clairvoyance, access to a higher mind, and get this, the source claims this is the real secret to extraordinary longevity. Ultimately, this entire incredible theory is summed up in this one powerful quote. It argues against looking for saviors or heavens outside of yourself. The whole secret drama, the kingdom of God, it's an internal process. It's all happening inside you. Which really leaves us with a final question to chew on. Is enlightenment some external journey we're supposed to take? Or is it a destination we consciously create, month by month, choice by choice, right inside ourselves? It's a fascinating idea to think about. Thanks for tuning in.